Good morning, sir.
Hello.
You're Kirk Edwin Jensen? Yes. You got a ticket for no valid operator's license, no license in possession, and I don't think you can actually be convicted of both of those. It's either or, and no proof of insurance. Mr. Marvin said he spoke with you. You don't wish to enter a plea of guilty, which is your right, but you don't wish me to appoint an attorney.
The very first second, this courtroom is not in control. The man walks in, not with remorse, not with legal counsel, but with a mission. He's not here to answer for driving without a license. No. He's here to wage spiritual war against what he believes is a fictional government. He talks about the Crown Corporation like he's fighting in Middle Earth. Sir, this isn't Lord of the Rings. This is Michigan Traffic Court, and you're here because you didn't have a valid license, not because you're the chosen one of some secret realm.
Can we just set this for a bench trial?
Or have it's either that or a jury trial, is that what you're saying?
Yes. You have a right to have well, let me ask you this. You don't want me to appoint an attorney. Do you wish to hire one?
No, I really don't even want to contract with the Crown Corporation here. This has really turned into a religious persecution issue because, and I'm sure you can see, I canceled that driver's license 13 years ago because I didn't want to have that contract any longer. And I wanted to get out of that system and be completely separate. So I went with a different government altogether, with a different issuing authority. And I have documentation in the form of an international driving permit, which Mr. Marvin acknowledged he is aware of because he said he used to have one. So he knows about them, and that's what I had when I presented it to the officer. For whatever reason, the officer thinks it's not valid or that it's fraudulent, and that is his choice to decide that. But the charge of not having any driver's license on me is not true because I did have it on me.
Do you have it with you today?
No, he has it.
Who has it?
The Officer Brooks, who took it from me. I have an international driving permit and a passport that was issued by a different governing authority than the United States. And for whatever reason, they're choosing not to acknowledge.
Then things get even wilder. He calmly states that he's opted into a different government, like it's a phone plan, and proceed to hand over an international driving permit as if he's navigating through star systems. He genuinely believes he's above state law because he's part of some galactic alliance. The judge tries to hold it together, but you can hear it. The struggle not to burst out laughing. This isn't courtroom strategy. This is science fiction dressed up as legal defense.
But it already has been...
well, that's an interesting defense. Now, we've been struggling with international driver's licenses. And for one issue, you have to be in the country legally. So we've got a number of Mexican people that have Mexican driver's license from Michoacan or Jalisco or one of the Mexican states. But if they're not here legally, it doesn't matter. You're obviously here legally. You were born a citizen. You may have.
I have changed my nationality is what I've done.
Where's your passport from?
It's issued by the government of the United States of America. It's not a blue passport. It's a different colored passport than that. Mr. Marvin says that there's no such thing as that, and that's fine if he wants to choose to do that. But I have had no issue. I have had no issue from anyone or anything using that. Granted, I have not gone to the country with that yet. I have not had the means to do so.
Yeah, good luck.
But
good luck trying to get back in. My advice is don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be a man with no country. So don't leave the country, but you're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I have according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I have a right to change my nationality. And the Crown Corporation here is trying to deny me that nationality, which really falls under a religious persecution issue here, because I don't want to have any more dealings with the Crown Corporation. And so
I don't know what universe you're.
To his credit, the judge stays composed, even tries to get the guy some ground. He acknowledges that international license cases can be complicated. But just as you think we're headed back to Earth, the man pulls out the wild card. My passport isn't blue. And with that, it's official. This man has completely checked out reality. He's living on a mental island where he created a one-man nation with its own laws, no taxes, no government, and definitely no logic. There's delusion, and then there's this.
Crown Corporation. This is the state of Michigan. And in the state of Michigan, you have to have a driver's license. You may have one. Your operator's license, you're right, is canceled. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
I cut it up and I sent it back to the Secretary of State 13 years ago. I did not want to have that contract any longer.
Well, you got convicted in Niles in 2019 of no ops. You failed to appear. They defaulted you, I guess. But yeah, they've got your old driver's license picture in here. But yeah, you don't want to have a bad driving record. There's no speeding, seatbelt.
I'm not a bad guy. I just want to get around
here,
differently.
You were here on May 11th.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And you wanted the complaint dismissed. You told me that you had an in license canceled and lien. So I set it for the pretrial, which is what we just did. All right. Now I got a concern that the officer has your license.
Yeah, he still has it. He doesn't. I don't know why he hasn't given it back to me yet.
Well,
And here's where things go from absurd to actually tragic. You can see it. The judge isn't angry anymore. He's just tired. Sad, even, because what he's looking at isn't a criminal. It's a man who's been completely swallowed whole by YouTube conspiracy content, legal fantasy videos, fake sovereignty doctrines, and deep internet rabbit holes. This is a rebellion. It's misguided belief dressed as bravery. And that might be the most dangerous thing happening in courtrooms today.
all right. So Mr. Marvin says we haven't reached a settlement. You believe you have a defense. You don't want to have an attorney. So the question becomes, do we set it for a trial? And do we set it for a trial in front of the judge, or do you wish to have a jury come in and hear this?
I want to just plain have it settled, and whether it's with him and you.
Well, I don't have the authority to settle it. He does. Mm-hmm. I can set it for what's called a last pretrial before jury trial. And I will get your international. This may be more of a legal issue than a factual issue. Mm-hmm. You were driving in the state of Michigan, and you don't have a Michigan driver's license. But you may have a valid international license. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Right. There's no. Now the prosecutor has the police report. I don't.
The other thing that I failed to mention was that I was also under contract while I was driving that. I was under a legal contract. And obviously that contract was impaired while I was trying to fulfill the obligations of that contract.
That's alternate universe stuff. There's no contract. The issue is...
I mean, the owner of the vehicle, I had a contract with the owner of the vehicle. I was under contract to perform some services for the owner of the vehicle.
Oh, okay. So, all right. That may be so. Right. But then you may need a CDL to do that.
Your Honor, yes? I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that statute in like years, but doesn't an international license have to have a prerequisite of a valid license from some place before you can apply for that international license?
And I had a national one too as well.
So I don't know.
I believe that's a prerequisite. But I don't
all right,
know.
well, it may be, but we.
Now we get the final twist in this unraveling legal novel. He wasn't driving as a citizen or even as a person, Oh no. He claims he was operating under a private legal contract, as if this were some secret Uber deal or freelance gig for a fantasy justice system. But this isn't Uber, it's not Amazon Flex. And this is his courtroom redesigned. He's not just offending himself. He's writing a legal fan fiction on the spot. And the judge, forced to pretend it all makes sense just long enough to slam it down.
He's got a theory that may have no basis or may have some basis. We have recently had a man from India who tried to do everything right.
Right, I remember him.
And it's so cumbersome and difficult. And he was living here. He had a driver's license from India. He got an international driver's license. Or he had a New York license, and somewhere he forgot to dot an I or cross a T. All right, I'm going to set this for a last pretrial, but
What does that mean?
it means we're going to take one more effort at resolving this thing, but I need to see your evidence.
Okay. Well, I can tell you the Officer Brooks, he's the one that has it.
All right. When you were here at your arraignment in May, you were very polite and respectful, and we don't agree on things, but let's take a closer look before I jump to any conclusions.
And I'll have a lot more evidence at that time. Yeah.
And if it can be resolved, great. If it can't be, the question at that point will be, do we have a jury trial or do we have a bench trial? And one of the things about people like you that want to check out of our government and our system, they don't mind bringing in 30 of their fellow citizens to come in and hear their thing. The irony is, if I sent you a jury notice, you wouldn't show up. You would say, I don't contract with you and I won't participate in your system. But you don't have any compunction about dragging 30 other people.
At this point, the judge has had it, but instead of exploding, he slices with sarcasm. He points out the contradictions so perfectly. You won't do jury duty when the system calls on you, but now you want to summon 30 strangers for your own make-believe trial? That's not just ironic. It's comedy gold wrapped in court procedure. The sovereign citizen movement is full of contradictions, and today, the judge exposes every single one with surgical precision.
So at this point, we haven't gotten that far.
Can we just decide that in 2 weeks?
Yes,
Okay.
certainly. So let's see. I want to get those documents from the sheriff's department and take a look at them.
Okay.
There may need to be some legal research done as well. But you're putting the burden on them, which is how it sort of works.
Yeah.
They have the burden of proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. So you raise this defense and say, prove it's not right. Well, that isn't exactly how it works. You've got to show there's some merit to the defense. Key West used to offer passports to the Conch Republic. There was a little place there, and you could get a Conch Republic passport, and it looked like a real passport. And they shut them down. People were using them in other countries to show they had a Conch Republic quasi-American passport. So there's all kinds of screwy passports out there.
And I understand that there's nefarious people who want to do things for nefarious purposes, and that's not me. I don't want to do anything for nefarious or evil purposes. I'm trying to be upright and righteous here in what I'm doing. And I'm just simply wanting to be separate according to my religious beliefs. And that's all this really boils down to.
All right. Well, one option is don't drive a car. If you don't want to participate in it and you want to opt out of our system, don't drive. Have somebody else drive you or stay in one place. But if you want to use our public roadways and share the road with other people that are licensed, you can't just decide I live in an alternate universe and I don't have to obey the same rules.
And finally, the gavel comes down not with rage, but with exhausted clarity. If you don't want to participate in this system, then don't drive. It's the most honest, direct, and powerful line of the entire hearing. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about rights. It's not about revolution. It's not even about traffic law. It's about basic participation in the world we all live in. And if you can't handle that, maybe it's not the system that's broken.